Hi everyone, I'm Nadia, and in today's video, my mom and I are making a custom order of a set of sea glass resin coasters and 3D flowers. My mom is making the sea glass coasters and I'm making the 3D flowers, although I didn't quite get the effect that I was going for, so I ended up redoing them, and I'll show you guys later exactly what I did wrong. After we mixed our resin for 3 to 5 minutes, we separated it into smaller cups to add the pigments, and this is a jar of some small shredded glass pieces that my mom will be using in her coasters. She adds some into a small cup, while I transfer a little bit of resin into a smaller cup to add the gold flakes for the center of my flowers. She adds some resin into that same cup, as well as some gold glitter, and mixes it all together. I'll have affiliate links in my description where you can purchase some of these products, so make sure to check that out. These are the gold flakes that I'm going to be mixing into my small cup, as well as some iridescent glitter. I moved the gold leaf flakes from the box into my cup with a wooden stick and add the glitter as well and mixed it all together. And my mom is adding some luxury gold ghost pearls from Depon into her cup. She takes a tiny spoonful because with these a small amount goes a long way, and mixes it all together. She's going to be using Resin Pro's Color Fun Deluxe in the shade True Green, and before she adds the pigment into her cup, she makes sure to shake it well. I start to pour some clear resin into my molds while my mom mixes her pigment into her resin. She's going to be adding a little bit of olive green, also from Resin Pro's Color Fun Deluxe. She adds a little bit onto the tip of a wooden stick so that she doesn't add too much, and then mixes it all together. She's also going to be mixing in some green mica powder from Resin Pro. And lastly, she adds some black Color Fun Deluxe as well to darken it up a bit. Again, she carefully adds some onto a wooden stick so that she doesn't add too much, and I use the torch gun to pop any air bubbles. For her next shade of green, she's going to be using that same mica powder from Resin Pro, as well as Depon's alcohol ink in the shade Electric Green. I'm using the wooden stick to pick out some small dust particles out of the resin, and now she's going to be adding Depon's Luxury Gold Ghost Pearls. For her third cup, she's going to be using Just Resin's pigment paste in the shade Gold. And here's where I start to mix in my pigments for my flowers, and I'm starting off with using this mustard yellow shade of mica powder from Resin Pro. I add some into my small cup of resin and mix it together while my mom is mixing the pigment paste in the container. She mixes that together and then starts to add her darkest shade of green pigmented resin at the top of her molds. She squeezes the top of the cup to allow less resin to come out when she pours. I start to mix in my white pigment for my flower petals, and I'm using Just Resin's Titanium White. Now she moves on to pour her second shade of green, and she pours that into a horizontal line down the middle, while I'm mixing my white pigment into my resin. Now she's adding the shattered glass pieces mixed with gold glitter into the very bottom of the molds. And I've been taking my time with starting my coasters because when making 3D flowers, it's best to use a high viscosity resin. In this case, we're using a low viscosity resin, so I'm waiting a little bit for the resin to thicken. And in between that area of the shattered glass and the light green mica powder resin, she adds the gold pigmented resin. My mom uses a makeup brush to spread and blend the resin, and I start to add my gold leaf flakes into the center of my molds. I do some minor arrangements to the gold in the center of my molds, and my mom starts to add some sea glass into her molds. She's using small pieces of green sea glass, and these are all pieces that her and I have collected on the beaches in Croatia. She starts by adding small pieces towards the bottom of the molds and then gradually adds more and bigger pieces. Now she's adding more sea glass into her molds, and I start to pour my resin into the shape of flower petals. I start with the yellow mica powder, and I bent the top of my cup so that too much doesn't come out when I pour. Once I poured around the mold about 2 times with the yellow pigmented resin, I take the white pigmented resin and start to pour in the same shape. And my mom is using a wooden stick to make sure that all of the sea glass pieces are laying flat in the mold. She continues to make adjustments to the sea glass, and I continue to alternate between the white pigmented resin and the yellow pigmented resin. She mixed a little bit more green pigmented resin using Dupont electric green and poured it into the middle area of the molds. And with my leftover white pigmented resin, I added a bronze shade of mica powder to add a third color. And she pours her leftover pigmented resin on top to make sure that everything's covered. I added my third color into the molds in that same flower petal motion, and now looking back, I can see that I went way too many times around the molds, which is why I didn't end up achieving the effect that I was going for. Once we were done, we used a torch gun to pop any air bubbles, and when using a torch gun, make sure that you're moving it in a very quick motion so that you don't burn your resin or your silicone molds. And here's a clip of my mom and I demolding our coasters. As you can see, there are some blobs in my flowers, and this is because I added too much resin, and although it wasn't exactly the effect that I was going for, it's still a nice effect. And we ended up choosing the bottom side with the blobs to be the top side. We added a heat-resistant top coat and a gold trim, and here's the final product. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. Follow me on my Instagram, Summer Girl Designs, and my mom's Instagram, Wild Heart Resin Art.